right now, close your eyes and just bring your awareness to how that mind is working. Just observe how it's functioning. What thoughts are coming through? Is it a chaotic mind? Are there lots of thoughts coming through? Are they all around a specific subject? Are they positive? Are they negative? And what will happen is all you are doing is you will start to realize that this mind is just this autonomous function. It's this autonomous system that is just working all day, every day. And it's just passing you these thoughts. And when it's passing us these thoughts, we are actually the ones that grab hold of these specific individual thoughts. We're the ones that expand those thoughts. We grab hold of them and we dive into the details of what it is. And every single one of us are masters at this. It's called daydreaming. We do this all day. Every one of us do this multiple times a day. And that's exactly what it is. We are just diving into that headspace, grabbing hold of specific thoughts, and we're just going into the details of what it is. But by doing this, we can also get ourselves into a bit of trouble. We start to kind of take hold of everything that the mind is throwing at us. We believe that every thought is who we are. We believe that we should be doing everything that the mind is telling us to do. But by just the simple task of just closing your eyes and observing how it is functioning, you will start to realize that the mind is not who you are. And that it is just a function that is working alongside you. Now, as you've probably read the title, is that this automated system is working against you. Now, that seems a little bit kind of negative, but what you'll actually start to find is that it is very true. I did a practice a few years back because I wanted to start to understand how that autonomous system works. How a little bit into more detail of how it was functioning. And it's a very, very easy task that any one of us can do at any time. All you need is a pen and paper. And what you do is that for just a moment, it might be 5 minutes, it might be an hour, however long you want to do it for. But while you are doing some sort of activity, maybe you're at work, maybe it's on a weekend, maybe you're on vacation, it is actually best to do it in all of those and see what the differences are. But what you do is you write down every time that you started to dive into the mind space. You don't want to be writing down every thought. I don't even think that is possible. But when you are the one grabbing hold of those thoughts, maybe it is as deep as a daydream, or you just have a specific thought that's on your mind. You want to write what that is, what thought it was. And next to that thought, you want to see if it came from a positive or a negative frame of mind. Now, I did this here on the farm. I was doing an activity of hauling logs. There was a fallen down tree which I'd cut up for firewood here in winter. We have a big fireplace to keep us warm. But I had to cut up these into pieces where I can haul them up to the trailer, up the hill. And it took me probably under an hour to kind of do this hauling. And so I said, during this activity, which I have no mental strain or stress whatsoever, it was a nice day. I was on my own. There was no time constraints. There was no stress whatsoever. It was just some physical labor. I wanted to see where my mind went during this task. And what I found was that about 60% of my thoughts came from a negative space. The thoughts themselves were pretty widespread over my whole kind of everything in any different aspect of my life. But what I found was that it was from a negative space. None of the thoughts were extremely negative at all, but they came from a slightly negative point of view. And what you find out is that the autonomous mind, when untrained, is actually keeping you in a negative frame of mind, even on activities that aren't stressed whatsoever. So then what happens when you're under the pump, when you're stressed out? How would your mind then change? And that is why it's such a good activity to do. Maybe the difference of a Monday morning at work compared to a Friday afternoon. Because we know different situations and different scenarios create different frames of mind. And then you start to understand how this autonomous function is working across your, well, pretty much your life, different days of the week. So what I started to do was I wanted to focus more on that slightly positive frame of mind. I didn't want to have to make huge changes to say I want to be all day, every day in the amazingly positive space. It is very, very difficult. But to make those small changes can have a huge impact. So you start to focus more on that positive, on those more positive outcomes by training your mind to automatically view and see those positive situations. Then it starts to change that autonomous function. So then that mind that is working alongside you is actually benefiting you. But as the title suggests, it isn't. Even when you get to the point where you are autonomously viewing those positive frame of mind, those positive situations, the issue itself is the autonomous function. The reason being is the mind never functions in the present moment. The mind is all about past experiences and trying to problem solve or help situations that could happen in the future. So your mind is always in the cat's here. The cat followed me into the forest. But the mind never functions in the present state. So by being in that mind space, you are taking yourself away from the present moment and into the world that you are creating in your mind. And that is where the problem lies. Every time you dwell on something, you go into that dream, that daydreaming state, all you are doing is taking yourself away from the present and into the world that literally doesn't exist. It's about the past and the future. Maybe you're daydreaming of the weekend ahead. Maybe you're daydreaming of the weekend you just had. Maybe you go into the mind space because you are worried about a speech that you need to do. And all your mind does is go about the past experiences that you've had that weren't positive, that were negative. And so on and so forth. And you just end up in this world that is not of the present state. And like the saying goes, the present moment is one of the best gifts you can give yourself. That is why they call it the present. Because in the present state, all you are doing is essentially receiving all the information that you have that is around you at that time. And that is exactly why we are here in nature. Because doing things like this, where you can spend time in nature, what you start to do is that you go out of that mind space and actually into this present state. I use the idea of going for a walk. Say you're going for a walk and you're wanting to just get a little bit of daily exercise in, and you put your headphones on, you got your glasses on, maybe a hoodie or whatever it is, and you go for your walk. And during that moment, you're in the headspace about work, about maybe finances, about all these different things. And then you come back, cool, take your headphones off. I've kind of done my exercise. I've ticked that box. Sweet. But the difference is that you are not in the present. And by doing that whole thing over again, by taking off your headphones, taking off the hoodie, going for your walk, and just seeing, smelling, just hearing everything that's around you, using all of your senses, what it does is it keeps you in the most present state possible. And then you start to flood all of that information that is available to you at that time you are now receiving. Like, take this scenario right here. All I need to do right now is listen. That is why we're here. Because this is one of the best places to start to train yourself to get into that present state. The mind is an amazing function for very specific things. A lot of the more problem solving, more those logistic type activities, that is what it's for. Your planning and your scheduling, problem solving, just to name a couple. But it's when we are relying on that space all day, every day, that is what is happening, is that we then go into that autonomous function. We then start to adapt to the autonomous state that the mind is, and we start to live in autopilot. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out into nature, or go out wherever, to the beach, into the park, and start practicing being in that present state. Because I can guarantee you, you will start to have amazing benefits in your life. And there's a secret. It's my cat. There's a secret. There's a secret that lies beyond the mind. When we start to enter that present moment, there's a secret that lies, a superpower that lies beyond the mind, which we are going to start talking about in that next video. So stick around for the next one, and we will start to find out what that secret is. I'll see you in the next one.